And yes, you do see us with a glass of wine today because this is a Friday for us, or for me. I'm going on vacation after this. Yay! So welcome back, everybody, to Everything Horses and More podcast. And I am Caroline Best of the Tao of Horsemanship, and I've got my beautiful, lovely co-host here, Miss Sabrina.
Hey, guys.
All right. Okay, today we're going to kind of wrap this up and keep it a little short. Great, fabulous audience, especially yesterday. For me, it was like the best. We had some wonderful questions and a lot of engagement. And the questions to me were just really smart. I mean, everyone's been thinking. And yesterday's podcast was all about retraining horses, specifically my experiences with the OTTB and rescuing them straight off the track before they went to the kill pen, unfortunately. And so yesterday was about how to resolve trauma, challenges, and negative behaviors and what's going on. I think specifically, I believe the biggest point or points to drive home from yesterday's podcast is the way horse trainers today are not just training horses, but trying to fix problems. We'll just leave it at that, trying to fix problems, whether they're rehabilitating or restarting. And this is for all types of training and disciplines. It's not just natural horsemanship. It's not just traditional, conventional. It doesn't matter what discipline you're in either. There's still this mindset of pressure and release, mindset of desensitizing, so much pressure, and we're still overfacing and overwhelming and flooding our horses mentally, emotionally, and physically. And so yesterday I spoke a lot about just making sure, we're on. I spoke a lot about what's going on with the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system with the horse, and how important it is for us when we are restarting horses and rehabilitating them, that we understand how this works in the horse, this nervous system, and which produces what. You know, the sympathetic is a survival mode, the self-preservation mode. The parasympathetic part of the nervous system is basically it equals the endorphin or the dopamine release. That's where the horse feels calm and good and relaxed. The key here is if you don't have the parasympathetic nervous system working, your horse is not learning. And so, you know, that's what disgusts me with the natural horsemanship. With the gentler methods, they're still using so much force and pressure with these horses. And to me, it is a process when you're learning. It is a process of feel and timing and learning what you need to do, when you need to do it, and how you need to do it. And most importantly, never compromising the horse's parasympathetic nervous system, their state of being. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to hit thresholds. You're going to have to hit thresholds. You're going to have to push horses like people in order to change out of their comfort, but it's how you do it. And that is an art. That is definitely, because it involves so much feel and timing, and it's something that really deserves time and experience. And unfortunately, most of you, the majority of all of us, were not being taught that. It certainly wasn't taught to me when I got back into horses. And that's specifically what I wanted to specialize in, was rehabilitation. And then it blossomed into foundation training. So, and that's what the Mastery Membership Program does. I mean, it doesn't just rehabilitate and restart horses. It is also rebuilding and developing that foundation. And that's missing. That's missing. It's predominantly missing in so many of our horses. And even if you have a particular sport and you compete, like reining, and you've got a foundation on your horse, those horses are shot. Their minds are gone and their bodies are blown. You can't rush things, you guys. That's the point. There are no quick fixes, and you can't rush learning. Were we rushed? We started school, all of us start school at the age of 5. And we start a certain level of learning that is designed for where we are, what we are capable of learning at that age. So does that make sense? We all go to school. I bring this up all the time. We all go to the same type of school in the United States. We all are learning across the board in our school systems pretty much throughout our country here. We are all learning the same thing. So it's really important, and we're learning it slowly, right? So we're at the age of 5 to the age of 18. And then once we're 18, we can decide if we want to continue our education. What happens to our horses? It's unbelievable. Oh, let's just put them into training for 30 days. There's no training in 30 days. What are you doing to the horse in 30 days? What the hell are you possibly doing? You are rushing and pushing. And depending on the horse's nature and personality type, they're either going to buck up and take it and learn how to basically take it and take it and take it, which shuts them down and shuts them down and shuts them down, or they're going to fight you. They're going to explode. Very few horses have that dominant personality, though. Most of them are passive and submissive by nature. So it's just, man, this shit's got to change, or we're going to constantly, and there's all these stupid quick fixes out there and short courses and programs. They're not even a program, it's just a short course. It's a bunch of bullshit. I'm not saying that the course doesn't have some validity. I'm not saying that these courses out there can't show you some things, but it's not the overall big picture or fix. It really isn't. It needs to go slow. We need to change our mindset. So today we're going to talk about how to begin training, how to begin retraining. Excuse me, retraining is a key word. And where do you start? So fortunately, my Mastery Membership Program, my life's work, my program is for starting horses and restarting, including rehabilitation. All right, kittens, don't chew on wires. Oh my gosh, I can't win. Little cutenesses. So, they're going after you. Where do we begin the process? And we're actually going to dive in and expand on this in the month of October, because we're going to collect some actual video footage on YouTube of other trainers. And again, when I do this, it's just compare and contrast. I really want to educate your eye. I'm not here I'm actually not here to debunk or beat up anybody, but there's just way too much of this being taught out there that's wrong. And when you are retraining a horse, you should not be riding them. There should be no riding at all, not in the beginning. So think about retraining. A little bit of water here. Think about what retraining is all about. Retraining is basically reprogramming. You are reprogramming your horse's nervous system. You are reprogramming your horse's, you're reprogramming everything. It's like if I took my hard drive in, my computer, and I said, look, I got a bunch of glitches and a bunch of problems. And while I'm troubleshooting and I'm able to fix a few things, every time I try to fix this, something else goes wrong because it's all connected. And that's so often the problem with retraining, is it's never a full program. It's a quick fix. Well, why don't you just go ahead and do this, Caroline? Well, as soon as I do that, because everything's connected, big time, and I mean, through the nervous system, everything's obviously connected internally with the horse. But as I say, when you open one Pandora's box, when you open one door, there's so many other floodgates that open up. And that's often the biggest problem, the number one problem. So like sending your hard drive in, and I've been troubleshooting, I end up sometimes making things worse. And so just go ahead and rebuild my hard drive. Well, that's what I'm saying here. We basically have to rebuild these horses completely. They have a lack of confidence, a lack of self-esteem. Most of them have no courage to try things, no trust. And you've got nothing to work with, not to mention they're in the sympathetic nervous system state of being. So they're on survival mode. So every time you're thinking that, oh, I'm going to follow this technique, let's say the technique is I'm going to teach my horse to back up with steady pressure, steady rhythmic pressure. Man, I can't tell you how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of horses I already knew what was going to happen after so many, right? So I'm like, oh gosh, this horse is pretty much going to blow right through me. The minute I put pressure on them, most of them are going to have the natural reflex is opposition. So they're going to go right through it. That's a natural reflex for a horse. It's instinctive to push into pressure, you guys. And so if they're a real flighty horse, they're going to try to avoid it, which means they're going to try to escape and run away from the pressure of backing. If they have more dominant tendencies, they're going to run through you. And then you have the real passive horses that are going to they're just going to dull out. I mean, how many of you have experienced this? Right? I mean, I'm hitting the jackpot here. I should, after working with thousands of horses and people, I should know what the hell I'm talking about here. And I see these patterns. And don't forget, Sabrina's here to take questions, you guys. I see these patterns. So you've got all these self-preservation modes and going off constantly because you're trying to teach your horse how to back up. You can't. Your horse isn't going to learn no more than we're going to learn because they're so defensive. So what would you need to happen for you to put you in a parasympathetic state of being where you're relaxed and calm? What would feel good to you? This is the big piece that's missing. It's starting to become more prevalent. There are a lot of up and coming equine professionals out there that are talking a lot more about friendship, relationship, bonding with your horse. So if I don't know you and I'm new to you, whether you're, and so you are, if I don't know you and I'm going to be the horse now, and you represent the new trainer or the new owner, and you just start talking to me and hey, well, we've got to go learn this, and this is the way you assemble this, and I've got tons of triggers for whatever reasons, whether I've been mentally abused, emotionally abused, physically abused, whatever you're doing triggers me though. Could be your voice, could be your mannerisms, could be how fast you're going. It could be a combination of all that, but I'm going to start to go into self-preservation mode. I might choose the freeze mode, just check out. I might choose the flight mode and be really hypervigilant, and that's going to be distracting to my mental cognitive abilities as well. This is the horse. So people have not been revering them for the amazing emotional and socially intelligent species that they are. It's starting to become more prevalent and people are becoming more and more aware. But until we really, all of us universally say, oh my God, these animals are so amazing, and we stop abusing them, and we stop screaming at them, and we stop killing them and slaughtering them across the world, it's just disgusting, and discarding them and throwing them away until they're considered a pet. It's better than livestock. That's why it's so easy for them to go to the slaughters and the kill pens, you guys. So we've got to start changing our mindset and understand how to tap in and reach these horses. And it's so similar to us. What would you need? You'd need someone to take the time to earn your trust. I think that's the key here. So you might say, oh, well, I just need trust. I need to trust you. But it's how you go about earning that trust. And every person, like every horse, is unique in your nature, your temperament, your personality, and your experiences, and the way that you process and take in information. So everything's different for everyone. You can start to profile a little bit and put into patterns. Definitely I have, and all species, especially intelligent species, you'll definitely be able to start stereotyping a little bit. Absolutely. But keep that in mind. You need to earn your horse's trust before you begin teaching them anything. And this goes for new horses, starting young horses. Oh my God. and restarting, especially. Yes, question.
Lydia's asking, how do we get it to the State House?
Lydia, hey, hon. How do we get it to the what?
State House.
Oh, you mean as far as, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Lydia asks, how do we get it to the State House? So this has been a thought of mine for years, Lydia. I just haven't had the time to do it. And I'm building my social media presence and platform, and these podcasts are going to help. We all need to sign a petition, and every country is different, but I think even universally, if we all come together like a GoFundMe, pitch in for an attorney to draft up whatever legal documents we need that'll make this a real thing. As far as, I mean, you know, there's wild horses all over the world. So in Australia, especially, there is horrible how they're doing the same thing to the Australian. I forget the name of the wild horses in Australia. They're doing the same thing as they are to the BLM. BLM? Yeah, BLM. It's horrific. So we all need to band together, but we got to do it smart, which means I would contact an attorney first, but then we've all got to pitch in for that. So that's something that's on my bucket list big time. I've talked about this for years with my students. So that's really how you get it to the State House. Or contact a state representative, see if there's any animal rights activists in Congress. Well, you know, I don't know what it's called in different countries, but at that level. And they represent us. Remember, our Congress, they're supposed to represent us, our lobbyists. So we should be able to start there. Great question.
You know what makes me mad about is all those breeders.
Good point, Sabrina, thank you. Sabrina said what pisses her off are the breeders. You're right. Well, and so I was sent this horrific video. I mentioned it the other day, Monday, I think, about Australian racing. And, you know, I had to watch it and I'm crying. You know, this is what I do when I'm working late at night and catching up on stuff. If I'm not working, like last night, I'll spend time to just decompress and see what's going on. It was horrifying too. And it's no different than it is in the States. We're not legally supposed to be slaughtering horses here, but we ship them out. Mm-hmm. And nobody cares what happens to them when they go in that shipping container.
And that's awful.
It's horrible.
Jeez.
And so talking about the breeders are responsible, but it's such a greedy business. They'll just, if they have the money, they'll just keep breeding and hoping that 1 out of the 20 or 1 out of the 40 makes enough money for them. And then what they do with the rest of them, they get discarded. I mean, this video was showing mostly horses under the age of 5. In perfectly good health. There were no injuries. They were just, they had nowhere to go, and they don't care. You know, they're getting money at least for the weight, the pounds of meat. They're not going to take the time to, you know, put these horses at an auction. Yeah.
Another question.
Yes.
Karen, what is the average amount of time it takes to build trust with a horse? I know there's probably a wide time frame, but perhaps an hour, shortest time to longest.
Great question, Karen. So what kind of time frame do you put on building or earning your horse's trust? You can't. That is a wide open question, my dear. And so what I've done by developing the Mastery Membership Program is I've given you a guide and a roadmap. And it's been proven, this Mastery Membership Program, remember, I've used for thousands of horses, and it has worked with every one of them. Okay? Every breed, every age, every experience, you name it. This is it, guys. It's huge. So it's a guide, it's a roadmap. And you can ask Lydia, you can ask the ladies from the Mastery Membership who love these podcasts and come on to support the work. They'll tell you. Mm-hmm. So you can't put a time frame on that to earn, because you've got to get to know the horse. And it's all about experience, really. Experience guides you. It's not about how do I want to put it? It's like, what do I mean by experience? Experience doing what I do. Maybe not to this level, but if you come in and you're brand new to horses and you're a brand new horse owner, you have no experience, right? You have none. You have no barometer, no baseline. You really don't have a lens yet. So you don't know what you don't know. And that's why you have this roadmap. And the roadmap is my apprenticeship program. So it's also for my students that want to learn how to get certified and how to do what I do. So it's also for equine professionals who need to learn a better way of getting to know the horse and allowing the horse to guide you. You're both guiding. You know, it's really cool. It's so hard to explain this program that I've spent so many years developing. It's basically you're learning, the horse is learning, you're learning together, you're following this roadmap, this guide that develops the two of you from the and includes all the aspects that are important to me for a horse and its owner, its partner, to be balanced and well-rounded. And what does that mean? Well, I need to be able to handle my horse, know how to care for my horse, and in a multitude of experiences and situations, I need to be one with my horse at all times. And that's through all of the work that you do together. It doesn't matter what you're doing. And so much of it, all of it begins on the ground, right? Begins on the ground. That's a great question. And you can't answer it. So the Mastery Membership Program gives you a base, a map and a base. It dives in very deep as well, but it also helps you develop that barometer, that scale. And you can't develop a barometer until you have experience. You don't know what to measure it against, right? You don't know what to measure it against. So you got to begin somewhere. And the program is my way of holding your hand, not to mention I'm totally involved with my students. Oh my God, right, girls? Totally involved.
100%.
Yep. Okay, anybody else?
No, ma'am, that's it.
All right. So real quick, I'm going to talk about the program today. Absolutely. So what do we want with a foundation with our horses? What does foundation mean? And like I said, it's not the same foundation as these reiners or the futurity that are producing X, Y, and Z and these young horses at the age of 2 to compete. But a foundation, one of the things that I'll never forget learning from Jack Brainerd, one of the masters, Western dressage. He's in his 90s. I've talked about him often in my podcast. He's one of my mentors. When I studied with him for a while in 2006, he was a master of flying lead changes, and it was all advanced horsemanship. So your horse had to have some level of foundation to even begin to learn these advanced skills. And I asked Jack in our class, I'm like, Jack, what are the qualities that define for you a foundation for a horse? And believe me, I was just grasping these qualities when he mentioned them. You know, as years went on after that and I continued to grow and evolve and develop, I understood more and more what he was talking about. So I hope I get these right, because it's been a while since I talked about them. But one was a horse had to be calm. I'm like, oh yeah, calm, yeah. No, Jack meant calm in every situation. Calm. Horse had to be straight. Horse had to be supple. I know the last was horse had to be a pleasure to ride. Calm, straight, supple. Can't think of the other one, and a pleasure to ride. And when you first hear these, like I said, everything's about how much experience you have. So I only had a couple of years under me getting back into horses. And so I hadn't worked with as many as I have today, right? So I'm thinking, little hot shot, I think I know what you mean. I had no idea the depth of calm, the depth of what straight meant. Oh my God, the depth of suppling. And then I forget the fourth, and then it produced this amazingly, I think it was all gaits. Your horse had to be, yes, your horse had to be able to, I forget the terminology he used. The fourth one was your horse had to be able to be smooth, I think, in all gaits, or easy to control. That meant walk, trot, and canter. Well, how many? And that was one of the prerequisites when we would go to these advanced flying changes week-long, 5 to 7 day clinics with him. Is your horse better be able, you better be able to control your horse at the walk, trot, and canter. And believe me, there were a lot of people who just thought they could, and they'd get in there and he basically would disqualify you. You better sit on the sidelines. Don't bring that crazy horse who just wants to blow. It just so happened that during one of the week clinics I attended, the majority of us had pretty fast horses though. They would not lope. And we were in a beautiful facility in Vermont, and they had literally a nice square pasture that was a mile. And Jack said, everybody let your horses go, let them go. And you all follow the fence line and you just keep going around, because the fence line, once you start and finish, is 1 mile. He said, and horses will lose their stamina, I think, after 2 miles. Smokey and me, we were the last ones to finish. Now, while Smokey eventually got a nice canter, he didn't want to stop. Then I didn't realize how much adrenaline he was still on. I had worked through, Smokey was the toughest horse I've ever worked with, you guys. On a scale of 1 to 10, he was a 12. But I didn't even realize at the time why. And Jack didn't. Jack didn't work with troubled horses. He didn't know half of Smokey's displaced behaviors that occurred during these clinics. We tried guessing and figuring some things out, and it all came back to my intuitive in my observations. But that wasn't Jack's specialty. Jack would take these young, fresh horses that he bred. He'd put them through the same school, and either they would come out flying colors and go to futurity at the age of 2, or they'd make a great horse to sell at $25,000 a pop. Yep. So there's a little bit of wisdom for you all. Yeah, I had no idea Smokey was still on adrenaline. He was just tapped out. And this is a horse that had a partially paralyzed trachea. So he was breathing through 1.5 of his nostrils. Crazy how blown that mind was. But he was physically, he couldn't gallop anymore, right? He couldn't bolt and go. He was exhausted, but he was still going. That was his self-preservation mode. His sympathetic nervous system kicking in huge. And how old was Smokey at this time? 7 years old. I'd had him 2006. I'd had him 2 years, but he had 8 months off because of liver disease. And that liver disease affected his neurological system, which was his trachea. Part of it, yeah. So crazy, you guys, just crazy. So what is a foundation? Do you see how important it is? And nobody's teaching this. Nobody's taking the time, or you all are sending your horses away to somebody that's butchering your horses, you know, fucking them all up because they don't care about the relationship. And you've got only so much amount of money to pay them, and they've got horse over horse over horse to get done, and no time, and they've got time constraints, and they've got an ego, and they've got to prove that they can get this horse where it's supposed to be in the given time frame.
Yeah, I see it so much on Facebook where they go on there and they say, I cannot believe after 20 days I came to go see my horse and it looked so bad, and they were supposed to take care of it and train it, and they're in tears.
It's horrible.
It's awful.
So I don't know if y'all can hear Sabrina, but just, you know, she visits Facebook a lot too, personally, and just to keep up with what's going on out there. So we know what's going on out there. And she's like, constantly people are, you know, heartbroken. They go to visit their horse within 30 days of training, and the horse is a wreck. And even if the horse is doing what they wanted the horse to do, they notice that the horse is shut down, non-responsive, dull, and it's lost a lot of weight. So that's stress, and they probably have ulcers.
Or a lot of times they tell them not to come.
Yeah, they tell them not to come.
Yeah, don't come after, you know, so many days, or let them know when they show up, and that should not be the case.
No, that's correct. So that's a good point. A lot of horse trainers take your horse and tell you you can only come at a certain time. I've heard that too. So what I always told my students is you can come anytime,
Exactly.
but you only get one scheduled visit with me. outside of a lesson to see the progress of your horse because I was so busy and I didn't want to be. But listen, guys, when I say I was so busy, I never trained more than 4 clients' horses a day. Can you believe that?
Wow.
I might have been busy with my horses and my students, but I would only, because there was no time limit for me.
Yeah.
And that's why you paid more money for me.
Yeah.
Because I took the time it took and nobody got the horse for me. Oh no, that was all about where's that horse? Is the horse coming to me in the stall, coming to me in the pasture? I'm the one that gets the horse, grooms the horse, tacks the horse up, cools the horse down, bathes the horse.
Yeah.
I did everything.
You did that with Karma too?
Yeah. Nobody,
Yeah.
no. And then when I had my students apprenticing, they did the same thing with the horses that they were in charge of. Absolutely. So I never worked with more than 4. So be careful. Oh my God, be really careful, you guys, when these guys boast about, well, I rode 9. Oh, and I've heard it. How many horses do you work with? I did 12 today.
That's impossible.
No, they just get on and get off, get on and get off,
well,
get on and get off.
Yeah.
And so you're right. And so I would say you guys can come anytime and watch us. And often my clients, they'd fly in, they'd spend a couple of days, hang out with us. They loved it. Get to watch me and my students with all the other horses. I just didn't want to be interrupted in that mind space. I don't want to be talking about what's going on the whole time. I want to be there with your horse. And you know, it pretty much worked out for most of them.
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah. Some of them just wanted more. And I'm like, yeah. And believe me, it didn't work out too well because it's my way or the highway. And my way is always about the horse. So get the fuck out, you know? So we didn't end on very good terms. And that's the way it goes. So you guys need, I want to spread that word too. Thank you, Sabrina. 2 really excellent points. You should be able. What time? God, I know. I said I was going to wrap this up in a half an hour. Thank you. She's like, I'm trying to be sneaky. I'm like, what? I can't read that. Hubby? I see hubby over there. All right.
Oh,
so we talked about foundation. So for those of you that know or don't know, my approach is holistic. And holistic is the same as holism. It's inclusive. So it includes everything. Most importantly, it includes the 4 aspects to a being's well-being. A being, horse, dog, person, animal, a being. What are those 4 aspects to feeling whole and happy? We deal with the emotional, the mental, the physical, and the spiritual. How do we get to that? Well, we start out in my training program, my school. We start out with mindfulness and spirituality, becoming attuned. That's the first course you learn, and it's huge. And students will review it and go back to it periodically as they keep progressing, because that course is the glue, as I mentioned yesterday, that binds everything. It's how you develop the bond, the relationship, how you learn how to listen, work with energy, step back, all the things that you need to begin learning. You're creating it right there. And of course, you're tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system. You're tapping into, by doing that, it's all the chakra system that we work with, energy, learning how to center and ground with your horse, become more aware, working your right brain as we slowly start to develop the horse's left brain at the same time. And so this starts at Liberty. Hopefully, some people don't have a round pen. That's okay. You can start if it's safe in a stall. You can start in a small paddock, but it must be free. Because freedom is your biggest test, right? When you don't have all the aids and contraptions to keep your horse there, even riding bridleless, it's your biggest test. And we need that. It's the hardest, but we need that. And so during the Liberty, we have many, many exercises that help you develop all the important things. The energy awareness, how to use it, the connection, the relationship, the bond, releasing endorphin. You're getting to know your horse most importantly. So we start really slow here. And these are the main skills though. The main skills that I want you, as you keep evolving, to keep using. You don't, a lot of times, because we're so linear as the human species, and we've been taught, unfortunately, all the wrong things with horses. Once we get into more of the technical skills, where we're learning the aids and the tools and how to handle this, that, and the other, we get more linear, and we forget about all this first course stuff. And that's where shit just goes wrong, because a horse isn't linear. And all of a sudden you've produced this wonderful way of being with them, and now it's changed, and you've gotten tons of pressure and focused, and your horse is like, woo, man, I'm out of here. So now you start triggering things, and I know it's going to happen. It's part of the course. So you keep having to go back to the first course to pull on that foundation to help you work in the second course. And the third course is totally designated for problem solving, because I know what's going to happen, because I've worked with thousands of horses in every situation, every breed, every age, every discipline, you name it. This is just kind of the way it goes, the law of, or the nature of, the psychology of. So once you've got Liberty, you start working on your groundwork, your basic handling, work in hand. Oh yeah, we get in some advanced stuff. Then we get in lunging. Oh, we get dive in deep with lunging. I have several lunging styles, and they're all about the biomechanics, the embodiment of movement, developing Pilates for your horse, which is straightness training and strength and balance, self-carriage and collection. And this happens very organically. It's a building process, step-by-step process. And then you start to get permission to get on, and then we take all of this into the riding, and we build in the riding skills. So the horse is developed, so much of the horse and you are developed on the ground, and that's how I teach you riding. Oh, believe me, I teach you it on the ground. And so that's why this program is great for helping people with a lot of fear and a lack of confidence. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
100%.
Yep. You never do anything that you're not fully feel ready to do, or at least you're ready to take that risk. Okay. We get into some big time, rider body awareness, some of the same things we're producing on YouTube for the beginner rider series. We get into pre-flight, we get into suppling and contact and feel. Oh my God, we need that.
Is there something you're not getting into?
What, hon?
Is there something that you're not getting into? I mean, you really, really took your time in such hard work. Wow.
That's why when I say it took 10 years, because think of all the learning that I've done. And then I wanted to create this. I wanted a better way, because while I was learning and a student, hardcore student of other professionals out there, I was constantly disappointed and frustrated.
Yeah, you said that.
And I had money to spend on learning, and I was pissed off.
Just it's amazing, the hard work that you put in there.
Well, thank you, love. And this is my gift back to you guys. So when you balk at the price, bite me, because holy shit, you ain't gonna find this anywhere else. Nobody's gonna care about you like I am. I'm sorry, guys.
Nobody puts in the work.
Nobody puts in the work. No,
you're so here all the time for everybody. I mean, for everybody. Really, you are. If they have a question to email you, you're always answering them.
I know.
And it's from you. It's not like you have people answering for you. It's really from you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, somebody asked me, one of my students, I was responding this morning, and that's what inspired me to leave the posts on the Facebook pages. And that was one of her things. She spent 5 years and had the money and traveled and studied with some of the major people out there too, and was disappointed. Yeah, people don't live up to their word. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors out there.
Sure is.
There's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Sorry.
And even when you think, and I think that it's almost, thank you, I think it's almost a curse and a gift for me, because then it's almost too good to be true. You'll probably get people out there like, oh God, she can't be all that, and I am human and I make a ton of mistakes, and I'll piss you off at some point. As I always say, I'll make you cry, either because I'm opening up your heart and allowing you to release, or you just want to kill me.
But it's always.
But I'm human.
Yeah.
And it's honest. Thank you. And get over it. I know. Get over it.
Yes.
So that's it. I'm pretty much wrapping it up. Then you've got you test it with obstacle work. Yeah, whether it's at Liberty through an agility course with your horse, whether it's online or riding, and of course trail riding is the biggest test, and doing it by yourself and with other horses. So I'm preparing you for when Jack, that was such an imprint, Jack Brainerd, in my brain, you know, those 5 qualities of a well-broke horse that had a foundation. And I took, like I did with Nuno's, remember with Nuno's sayings, I took those 5 words and I just kept playing them over and over again in my head for years, you guys, because it kept taking on deeper meaning. Because you only know what you know, you don't know what you don't know. Right. And my level of understanding was based upon my level of experience. So the more I did and the more challenges I had and the more questions I asked or was being asked, the more I kept referring back to some of these great masters. And I'm like, I get it even more. And that's the beauty of it. To me, that's the art of it, because it keeps taking on new meaning. You know, it's like a good story or a good book. It's a classic, right? It never goes out of style because it just has so much meaning. And so that was part of my purpose creating a program too, that, you know, when I die, that this is my legacy. And some of my students are like, well, who's going to be able to teach your legacy? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Nobody can right now teach it other than me. And even the few certified people I have not lived up to it by any means. You know, they did all the time, got to a certain level in the certification process, and then they flaked out, or they just gave up and went off into other directions. And I love you guys, but you flaked out. And so you're not worthy of it. You're not. And if you want to come back, you're going to have to get renewed. So I have a high ethics and standard right now. And I'm not saying that, you know, a lot of people always ask, Caroline, and we've even had it on the website, sign up for information about the apprenticeship program. Well, you're learning it through the Mastery Membership Program. So if you really want to get, you don't even need to get certified by me, but you know, there it is. You've got it right there. You can buy it, learn it, and use it however you need to. But I don't know. I don't know if I want any more apprentices.
I think a lot of it is also when you do take this work and you show it and you work it with horses in your own time, remember who taught you. Remember who you learned it from. It's not very hard to say, thank you, Caroline, this goes out to you. Remember that, guys.
Yeah, she's been pretty hot and pissed off with a couple of students out there who are, yeah, whatever. It's okay. I know something we can do about it. Copyright. I thank you, love, for being. You make me cry. You gonna miss me? Is what's going on? You're gonna miss me. I think she's going through a little missing here. I'm feeling a little bit of love, more love than usual.
Time to shut this down.
Oops! Don't show me how much you love me now. All right, guys. Thank you. You can always email us with questions, and we'll see you here next Tuesday and Wednesday. We will be talking about our beginner riders series that we are creating, and just all the things that no one's being taught correctly as a beginner rider. This will be huge.
Yes, it will be.
So join us Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, and then we come up with a whole new schedule for October.
Yes.
I've got some good ideas. Rebecca sent us a really good idea.
Nice.
And about mirroring.
Yes.
So we're definitely going to have 2 days on mirroring.
Absolutely.
Okay, love you guys. May you always be one with your horse. And God bless you. Thank you.